They saw her as a pair of hands, not a person. That was the first mistake. In a room filled with medals, rank, and authority, no one noticed the quiet weight she carried on her chest. Not until one small piece of silver caught the light and changed everything. Asterisk, what city are you watching from today? If this story resonated with you, hit subscribe for more real stories about extraordinary people. Her name was Lieutenant Mara Hale, though almost no one in the building knew that. On that morning, she wore a press service uniform without insignia on her shoulders, her hair tied back tight, her expression neutral and unreadable. She stood near the wall of the officers' dining hall, holding a stainless steel tray loaded with covered plates, waiting for orders that were never meant for someone like her. The base was hosting a closed-door luncheon for visiting generals. High-ranking men with decades of command behind them filled the room with confidence, laughter, and the heavy air of power. The tables were long, polished, and set with precision. This was not a place for mistakes. It was also not a place where anyone expected to see a decorated combat officer serving lunch. Mara had been assigned temporary duty to the base after a classified operation overseas. Her official role that week was intentionally vague. Command wanted her profile low. No introductions. No attention. Just wait until her debrief with Joint Command was scheduled. Until then, she followed orders like she always had. The problem was that her immediate superior, a newly promoted major named Collins, did not know her full record. He saw her file as incomplete. He saw a young woman without visible rank standing in the corridor, and he decided she would be useful. When the catering staff fell short that morning, Collins did not hesitate. He pointed at her and told her to help serve the luncheon. His voice carried the tone of someone used to being obeyed. He did not ask. He ordered. Mara looked at him for a brief moment. She understood what was happening. She also understood the chain of command. So she nodded once, took the tray, and stepped into the room. As she moved between the tables, she could feel eyes on her. Some curious, some dismissive, a few openly amused. She heard whispers that were not meant to be heard. She is not even enlisted. One man murmured, "Probably admin." Another replied, "Someone has to carry the plates." A third said with a chuckle. Mara did not react. Her posture remained straight, her hands steady. Each plate was placed carefully in front of its intended recipient. She said nothing beyond polite acknowledgments. No one bothered to look at her face for long, but inside her mind, memories stirred. Not anger, not resentment, just a quiet awareness of how often appearances lie. She had earned that uniform in dust and heat. She had earned it in places without names on maps. She had earned it alongside people who never came home. And none of that needed defending. In this room. At the head table sat General Robert Whitaker, a man known across the armed forces for his sharp mind and sharper instincts. He had commanded troops in 3 major conflicts and advised presidents in rooms far more dangerous than this one. His eyes missed very little. As Mara approached his position, she adjusted the tray slightly. The movement caused the light to shift across her chest. For a fraction of a second, something glinted beneath the fabric near her left breast pocket. General Whitaker noticed. It was not flashy, not gold, not oversized. Just a small, unmistakable shape, partially obscured by the fold of the uniform. A silver star. His hand froze mid-motion. His conversation stopped. His eyes narrowed, not in suspicion, but in recognition. No one else at the table noticed at first. The general leaned back slightly, angling his view. There was no doubt. The ribbon pattern was correct. The medal placement precise. This was not decorative. This was earned. He looked up at her face. She met his gaze calmly, without challenge, without fear. General Whitaker cleared his throat. The sound cut through the room like a blade. "Who is this soldier?" he asked. Major Collins straightened immediately. "Sir, she is assisting with service. Temporary assignment. That is not what I asked," Whitaker said. His voice was controlled, but the room had gone silent. I asked who she is. Collins hesitated. Lieutenant Hawley, sir. I believe, Whitaker repeated. He stood slowly, pushing his chair back. Lieutenant Hawley stepped forward. Mara placed the tray down and took one step forward. She came to attention without being told. The generals around the table stared now. Confusion rippled through them. General Whitaker pointed gently toward her chest. Lieutenant, is that a silver star you are wearing? Yes, sir, she replied. For what action? Whitaker asked. Gallant conduct in combat during Operation Black Meridian, she said. Evacuation under sustained enemy fire. Another general leaned forward sharply. That operation was classified. Whitaker nodded once. Exactly. The room felt suddenly smaller. Whitaker turned, his gaze back to Collins. Major, why is a Silver Star recipient serving lunch at my table? Collins swallowed. Sir, I was unaware of her full record. That is apparent, Whitaker said. Very apparent. He turned back to Mara. Lieutenant, at ease. And please, take a seat. Mara hesitated for the briefest moment, then obeyed. She sat where indicated, her back straight, her hands resting calmly. The generals began asking questions, careful ones. Where she had trained, who she had served under, what her current assignment entailed. She answered each with professionalism, offering only what was permitted. With every response, the atmosphere shifted. Respect replaced amusement. Curiosity replaced dismissal. One by one, the men around the table realized the truth. The person they had ignored, mocked, and overlooked had faced things they never would. She had been tested in ways that no rank alone could measure. Major Collins stood silent near the wall. His face was pale. The weight of his assumption pressed heavily on him. When the luncheon ended, General Whitaker addressed the room one final time. Let this be a reminder, he said. We do not measure service by convenience or appearance. We measure it by courage, integrity, and sacrifice. Lieutenant Hawley embodies all three. He turned to Mara. Thank you for your restraint today. She nodded. Thank you, sir. As the room emptied, Collins approached her. His voice was low. Lieutenant, I owe you an apology. She looked at him evenly. Accepted, sir. Nothing more needed to be said. Later that evening, Mara stood alone outside the building, the sun dipping low behind the base. She touched the edge of the Silver Star lightly, not with pride, but with remembrance. Of teammates, of moments that defined her, of lessons learned the hard way. She had not needed recognition to know her worth. But sometimes, the truth has a way of revealing itself, whether people are ready or not, because respect is not demanded. It is earned. And it often arrives when someone finally learns to look closer. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.